What if we say Captain Ibrahim Traore is just at the point where he can be assassinated? Things really are getting serious, as nothing like that has happened in Africa as it is happening now. The Western powers could never even imagine that an African leader would rise against them, limiting their influence and kicking them out. Just recently, Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traore announced an open battle against the Western powers. Put simply, he is doing and making agreements that directly threaten Western powers. These are actions that are a type of threshold for the West, and if any African leader crosses them, he will be replaced or assassinated. But after Ibrahim Traore did something the West did not expect, the plots and assassination plans were ineffective. What specifically did Ibrahim Traore do? Let's know about that in this video. First, Ibrahim Traore reached the threshold that the West did not want African leaders to cross. After that, he knocked it down and then surpassed it, maddening the West. How he did so is genius. Captain Ibrahim Traore, the military leader who assumed power in Burkina Faso in 2022, has profoundly altered the country's relationship with the West, particularly France, through his actions and statements. Before him, Burkina Faso, like many other former French colonies, grappled with the complex legacy of colonialism. Many citizens perceived France as maintaining a neo-colonial influence, meddling in internal affairs, and hindering the country's development. This sentiment fueled Traore's desire to sever ties with France and assert Burkina Faso's autonomy. Additionally, Traore and many Burkinabe citizens believe that Western-backed solutions to challenges like terrorism and poverty have proved ineffective. This disillusionment with Western interventionism drove a desire for alternative approaches, including closer ties with non-Western powers like Russia. A growing sense of Pan-Africanism across the continent also fueled Traore's grand plans, emphasizing African unity and self-reliance while rejecting external intervention. However, Traore knew that to kick out France, he first had to consolidate all forces. It's because challenging something that had seeped into the very roots of the country needed much power to be brought out and rejected. That's when he started a secret mission. He subtly started kicking out French officials, so the foreign powers did not know what he would do in the future. He wanted to get rid of the prying eyes first. The less they know, the lesser the chances of sabotage. He started his power show with the expulsion of the French ambassador and the suspension of cooperation and long-standing ties with France. He then restricted French media from spreading propaganda in the name of journalism. He then started making open statements against Western countries and their interference in Burkina Faso. We also saw a substantial shift in Burkina Faso's foreign policy towards Russia under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore, signifying historical grievances, contemporary political realities, and strategic considerations on both sides. This transformation, driven by deep-seated distrust towards Western powers and the pursuit of alternative partnerships, presents both opportunities and challenges for the country's future and the broader region. You should know that Burkina Faso's grievances with the West have their roots in a legacy of colonialism and neo-colonial practices. French interventions in regional conflicts, often seen as ineffective and detrimental to local interests, have further eroded trust and fueled the quest for new allies. This sentiment has created a conducive environment for Russia, eager to expand its influence and challenge Western dominance in Africa. Therefore, the Western countries started the Wagner Group working in Africa, spreading the propaganda that the Wagner Group was carrying out murders. Well, if that was the case, why did the Western countries have their troops present in African countries? This showed the West's hypocrisy. But for Russia, Burkina Faso represents a valuable partner in its quest for greater global influence and a counterweight to Western hegemony. The country's strategic location and abundant natural resources make it an attractive ally. Through military and economic assistance, Russia aims to establish a foothold in the region and position itself as a key player in African affairs. The Russia-Burkina Faso partnership has manifested in various ways. Russia has become the primary supplier of military equipment and weapons to Burkina Faso, filling the void left by France's withdrawal. This critical support has significantly strengthened the Burkinabe government's counter-terrorism capabilities and solidified its ties with Russia. France wanted Burkina Faso to be deprived of weapons and increase terrorism side by side. However, Russia did not allow that to happen, failing the Western tactic of creating conflicts and then coming for help. What's more, seeking to diversify economic partnerships, Burkina Faso turned to Russia for assistance. Deals have been signed in mining, energy exploration, and infrastructure development, offering a lifeline to the struggling economy and laying the groundwork for future collaborations. Not only that, but Burkina Faso has got a powerful ally in the form of Russia, who has emerged as a vocal defender of the Burkina Faso government on the international stage, shielding it from criticism and potential sanctions. This tireless support has fortified Traore's legitimacy and elevated his standing globally. Something should be known here. President Vladimir Putin's personal backing has played a significant role in consolidating Traore's power. Putin's recognition, diplomatic support, and military and economic assistance provision have helped strengthen Traore's hold on the military, a key power base, and solidify his position as a domestic and international leader. You see, Ibrahim Traore planned to have someone at his back initially so he could dodge the Western powers. But today, after consolidating forces, Ibrahim Traore is one of the most powerful men in Africa who does not need Russia. You see, the rise of Captain Ibrahim Traore to power in Burkina Faso in 2022 has ushered in a substantial shift in the country's foreign policy, indicating a distinct leaning towards Russia. It's because Traore wants to have allies who can actually help Burkina Faso instead of looting and exploiting it. In turn, Burkina Faso offered Russia something it never had before: legitimacy from Africa. Captain Ibrahim Traore clearly announced that the people of Burkina Faso fully support Russia's military operation in Ukraine. This was quite a groundbreaking statement that shocked Western countries, including the United States. It was an open announcement of a battle against the Western ideologies shaping Africa. Traore explicitly hinted in his statements that the West should stop expecting that what it thinks is wrong would be wrong for Africa too. That's what Nelson Mandela said, which later became one of the most famous statements. He had said that the West should stop thinking that its enemies would be the enemies of every country on the planet. Now, Traore manifests Nelson Mandela's statement, showing the West that he does not care about what they think. He will do whatever is right for his own country. Gone are the days when African countries had to first ask for the Western countries' permission to make foreign policies. President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso is expressing a fundamental shift in African foreign policy. His statement signals a call to break away from historical norms influenced by colonial perspectives, where African nations were often assumed to automatically share the interests and adversaries of the West. President Traore emphasizes the necessity for African countries, including Burkina Faso, to shape their foreign relations based on their unique geopolitical, economic, and security considerations. This stands in contrast to automatically aligning with the adversaries perceived by Western powers. President Traore is promoting a more independent and region-specific approach to foreign affairs by advocating for a departure from colonial-era mentalities. He stressed the significance of African nations determining their own enemies and allies based on their national interests, regional dynamics, and global geopolitical realities. This approach challenges the assumption that what is considered detrimental to the West must inherently harm Africa, fostering a more subtle and self-reliant understanding of international relations. This has never been done in the past. If an African leader were to advocate such an idea, he would be assassinated instantly. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Not only has Traore presented such an idea, but he has manifested it as well. He did so by scaring the West when he announced to continue diplomatic relations with North Korea, the West's biggest enemy. Over the years, the relationship between Burkina Faso and North Korea changed, depending on the loyalty of the Burkinabe leader in power. In its formative years, North Korea provided Burkina Faso with limited agricultural and technical support, laying the groundwork for a more profound association, grounded in shared ideological principles. A crucial moment unfolded in 1983 when Captain Thomas Sankara, a Marxist revolutionary, assumed leadership in Burkina Faso. Recognizing North Korea's socialist system as a kindred spirit, Sankara formalized diplomatic ties, initiating a close partnership characterized by military collaboration and Sankara's 2 trips to Pyongyang. Sankara first visited North Korea as prime minister and later as president. What's more, establishing a DPRK-Burkina Faso Friendship Association symbolized the deepening cultural and ideological connection. Despite Sankara's assassination in 1987, his successor, Blaise Compaoré, initially upheld the close ties with North Korea. Compaoré's visit to Pyongyang in 1988 affirmed his commitment. However, a turning point occurred in 2009 when Burkina Faso voted in favor of Resolution 1874 as a temporary UN Security Council member, imposing additional sanctions on North Korea. This signaled Burkina Faso's alignment with global concerns over North Korea's nuclear program. This was done under Western influence, as Compaoré was the man who was involved in Sankara's assassination. Experts believe that one of the reasons why the Western powers assassinated Thomas Sankara is due to his increasing collaboration with North Korea. However, you should know that at that time, North Korea was not a greater threat to the Western powers than it is now. Yet, Captain Ibrahim Traore has moved closer to North Korea, opening a battle against the West. But back in 2017, due to Western pressure and UN resolutions, Burkina Faso severed diplomatic ties with North Korea, marking a significant estrangement between the two nations. But we have seen a new beginning after a 6-year break. Burkina Faso and North Korea declared the restoration of diplomatic relations on March 30, 2023. Burkina Faso, grappling with an escalating terrorist threat, envisions collaboration with North Korea to bolster its military capabilities. It also aims to assert greater independence in its foreign policy by cultivating relationships beyond traditional Western allies. The agreements between Burkina Faso and North Korea include potential collaboration in diverse fields, extending beyond military assistance to mining, healthcare, agriculture, and research. North Korea's expertise in weapons development and military training presents an opportunity for collaboration in counter-terrorism efforts. However, Burkina Faso's interest in purchasing weapons from North Korea could potentially violate UN sanctions, leading to economic repercussions and diplomatic isolation. But Ibrahim Traore does not care because he does not believe in following sanctions that bring losses to his country. That's when things get tricky. Everyone knows that North Korea is famous for developing its nuclear weapons, and now it has announced itself as a nuclear weapon. Therefore, there are more chances that Burkina Faso would also like to have nuclear technology or expertise. That's when the chances of a more independent Burkina Faso increase. Once a country becomes a nuclear power, the West can no longer dictate or blackmail it. We can see this in the case of North Korea, which, despite being heavily sanctioned, is doing business, and the West cannot do anything against it. This idea opens doors to various opportunities that the African countries can benefit from instead of limiting themselves to the chances set by the West. In other words, this means absolute liberation of African countries, where they will eventually get rid of the Western influence. And if this happens, the Western countries will have no land, like Africa, which they can exploit and make their home prosperous. The recent alignment of Burkina Faso with Russia under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore has triggered intense speculation. Some say this move might initiate a ripple effect across Africa, ushering in a new era dominated by Russia and potentially overshadowing Western influence in the region. It's because Burkina Faso undeniably possesses qualities that could position it as a significant player in such a scenario. Situated in the heart of West Africa and sharing borders with key nations like Mali and Niger, Burkina Faso holds a strategic position that could become a focal point for geopolitical shifts. Its abundant mineral resources, especially gold and manganese, enhance its appeal to Russia, providing leverage for strengthening economic and political ties. Additionally, the ongoing struggle against terrorism creates a conducive environment for Russian military assistance, potentially fostering deeper security cooperation. This convergence of factors positions Burkina Faso as a potential driver for change, projecting its pro-Russian stance outward and attracting other disillusioned African nations. If Burkina Faso successfully partners with Russia, it could act as a beacon, drawing other African countries disappointed with the West into Russia's sphere of influence. This could set off a domino effect, significantly diminishing Western influence and reshaping the geopolitical landscape of the region. Such a shift could have far-reaching consequences, potentially reducing Western leverage on excuses like democracy, human rights, and good governance while intensifying competition. Well, now this has become a reality. Captain Ibrahim Traore has reached the point where he has hit the threshold, and now he is about to surpass it. This is because the Confederation proposals involving Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso add fuel to speculation about a potential regional bloc aligned with Russia. This proposal aims for increased economic and political integration, potentially serving as a model for other African nations. The proposed plan to establish a confederation involving Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso represents a pioneering initiative that challenges conventional notions of regional cooperation. This proposal endeavors to forge a novel paradigm for African unity, surpassing the constraints of existing regional entities like the African Union. The aspiration is to create a robust, continent-wide confederation with the potential to transform Africa into a strategic and economic powerhouse on the global stage. As of now, the plan to create a confederation is being discussed between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. However, if Captain Ibrahim's plans manifest themselves as they have until now, this confederation can be converted into a continent-wide entity. At its essence, the envisioned confederation seeks to foster a collective identity and unity among African nations, emphasizing a shared sense of belonging to a larger entity, Africa. This is much like the concept of the United States of Africa, where all African countries would be united like a single entity, instead of being different countries as they are now. This exceeds mere regional affiliations, imagining a unified continent that rises above historical divisions. Unlike current regional alliances, this ambitious plan aims to unite all African countries, leveraging collective resources, expertise, and influence to effectively address global challenges and capitalize on opportunities. Integral to the proposed confederation is the establishment of robust legal and institutional frameworks. Agreements would bind all African countries to the confederation, providing a solid foundation for shared governance, economic policies, and strategic initiatives. The confederation is envisaged as a symbol of African sovereignty and self-determination, with the United Front challenging historical narratives shaped by external influences. Through this confederation, African nations would aspire to exert greater influence in global affairs, possessing a stronger diplomatic voice to actively participate in shaping international policies, addressing global challenges, and fostering mutually beneficial partnerships. The proposal aims to overcome the limitations associated with regionalism by uniting the entire continent, creating a more inclusive and comprehensive entity that represents the diverse interests and aspirations of all African nations. That's when we start to clearly see how Ibrahim Traore has become the greatest resistance against the West in Africa. Captain Traore's alignment with Russia, North Korea, and China marks a strategic departure from traditional alliances, presenting an opportunity to reshape the geopolitical landscape. These partnerships are seen as a means to diversify alliances, decrease reliance on Western powers, and assert greater autonomy in international affairs for the benefit of African nations. After securing this, the proposed creation of a Pan-African Confederation adds a positive dimension to Traore's geopolitical strategy. If successful, this confederation could transform power dynamics within Africa, fostering regional cooperation and potentially providing a counterbalance to Western influence on the continent. The open declaration of a battle against Western countries invites an exploration of Traore's motivations. Possible factors include addressing historical injustices, economic disparities, and a desire to challenge what Traore perceives as an imbalanced global order. Ideological, economic, and strategic considerations may be motivating this assertive stance in favor of Africa's self-determination. Now it becomes clear that Ibrahim Traore has done what cost African leaders their lives in the past. However, Traore is safe because of his powerful friends and the country's allies. You see, the Western powers are unlikely to attempt the assassination of Ibrahim Traore because of the deterrent effect of his influential allies, specifically Vladimir Putin of Russia and Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Traore's strategic partnerships with Putin and Kim Jong-un are vital deterrents due to shared interests, and any harm to Traore could be seen as a challenge to the leadership of Russia and North Korea. This fear of jeopardizing these alliances prevent Western powers from taking extreme measures against Traore. Both Putin and Kim Jong-un are known for their assertive and retaliatory foreign policies, suggesting that harm to Traore could provoke a swift and forceful response from these leaders. Recognizing the potential consequences, Western powers may be discouraged from taking drastic actions, fearing the geopolitical repercussions. Beyond military responses, economic sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and other forms of retaliation could be deployed, impacting the interests of Western powers. Also, any attempt on Traore's life could be unfavorably viewed by the international community, potentially undermining the credibility and moral standing of Western powers. What do you think? Has Captain Ibrahim Traore the power to avoid coups and plots against him? Will his fate be the same as that of revolutionary leaders like Thomas Sankara before him? Let us know your thoughts on whether Ibrahim Traore's intimidating tactics against the West are helpful. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.